One thing about me, I'm always rooting for Burberry, okay? As an English gal, it is in my roots, in my blood, to support the crown jewel in Britain's... One of them. Okay, how dare I? Okay, because there are some great ones. But one of the crown jewels in Britain's fashion crown, right? It has quality, it has history, but it's also been suffering. And this isn't the first time this has kind of happened with Burberry. And I kind of wanted to dissect why this is happening. Can it be saved? Is this the end? Dun dun dun! Guys, if you are new here, my name is Cassie and I'm a self-diagnosed luxury addict. I put out videos on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, so if you like luxury fashion, then you're probably going to love it here. So head down there, subscribe, turn on the bell, become a member of our luxury addicted family. When are we going to rehab? Never. Burberry has a lot going for it, okay? It's a name that everybody knows. Even if you're not into fashion, you know Burberry. It has a widely recognisable print, right? These are things that a lot of luxury brands would kill to have this level of recognition. But in order to kind of see the future and the current state that is Burberry, we've got to take it a little bit back, right? Just for a little bit of context and history, stick with me. Thomas Burberry created the brand in 1856. He opened his first shop and invented gabardine. This is the material that a lot of the trenches are made out of. And the thing that made gabardine so popular was that it was light, and then it was this sort of lanolin coating on fabric. A lot of the weatherproof Macintoshes and anoraks and jackets of the time were really, really heavy. So this was a welcome little change. So come World War I, Burberry is commissioned to make the coats for the officers on the battlefield, and hence we now know them as trench coats. In the trenches, trench coats. The wheels are turning. We understand 2 + 2 is equaling 4. But they become so popular that civilians, your average gal and guy on the street, was also interested in wearing this kind of coat in this kind of material. Time goes on, and it's not always smooth sailing for the brand. So something very interesting happened to Burberry, which was it became far too popular. And the beloved check was associated with, the English people watching this will know, with chav culture. Basically, it wasn't necessarily something that a luxury brand would want to be associated with, right? It's sort of like football hooligans. I believe like an actress on EastEnders was like kitted out in Burberry, and you know her character wasn't exactly the most elegant, classy of characters. So all of a sudden Burberry had this association that took it out of being sort of desirable in that luxury way. It was faked so widely that honestly, if you were in any kind of like British town, you saw somebody with a slew of Burberry items on a wooden table in the market, right? I've seen it. Shout out to Doncaster. They were really pulling out the Burberrys back then. Anyway, so Christopher Bailey becomes creative director, and this was in 2000. His CV comes from Gucci under Tom Ford, right? So he has seen firsthand how Tom Ford really rejuvenated Gucci, gave it a bit of sexiness, gave it a bit of something. And these are the golden years for Burberry. If you talk to anybody who like has followed Burberry or has bought from Burberry, you know the Christopher Bailey years are the years. He had a huge focus on the trenches, rightfully so, and we're going to get back into this. And Burberry at the time actually had 3 different lines. So it was Burberry Prorsum, and this was like the runway pieces, the stuff that's maybe not quote unquote wearable for every day, but like fabulous, beautiful stuff. Then you had Burberry London, and then you had Burberry Brit, which was a little bit more of the affordable, casual, sporty-ish pieces, right? So those were the 3 lines at the time. Burberry was the show at London Fashion Week. It was a production. That is the one that everybody used to wait for. I like, also, I mean, listen, at the time we also had Alexander McQueen. A personal favourite of mine was Burberry Prorsum. It was discontinued in 2015. My green Burberry trench that has been through it, it actually has a rip in the pocket that was fixed by a tailor that I should never have taken it to, because if you look closely you can very much see it. I should probably actually take it to somebody else. I've lost bits and bobs off of that trench over the years, but that was a Burberry Prawsome piece. That trench I have had since I was about 20. So it's been 11 years and she's going strong, but the Prawsome rate, it was like studding and these like fabulous embellishments, and you know, like Cara Delevingne was in the adverts, and it very much had that core sort of like British London beating heart to it while being edgy and a bit modern. So Christopher Bailey left in 2018 and then came creative director Riccardo Tisci. My favourite Riccardo Tisci is Givenchy Riccardo Tisci. Oh, the Rottweiler, give me that, give me the shark, give me the stars, give me the Watch the Throne tour, all of it. But anyway, he definitely brought a little bit more of that kind of streetwear edge to Burberry. And he did okay, but not, I would never say that people sort of like can think, oh, I remember that thing that Riccardo Tisci did at Burberry, right? It was like, it was fine. It wasn't particularly memorable. Then 2022, it was announced that Daniel Lee would be the new creative director of Burberry. Daniel Lee, having taken Bottega from being like a little bit sort of dusty and possibly like a little bit matronly sort of feeling, and had rejuvenated it, made it feel really fresh and young while still catering to that heritage Bottega customer, comes into Burberry and they think that he's going to do the same thing. And here we are in 2024. I think he's done two very big things to the brand in terms of branding. Number one, he's really focusing on the Burberry Prawsome Knight, which is that little knight logo there. He's at it. Yay. Which I love. I love that it feels very sort of, you know, like British and whatever. And also has picked out this colour of Burberry blue. Cool, right? He did something very similar with Bottega with the green. So, okay, we're sort of seeing like, he's following similar-ish tactics. I think he's done a pretty decent job of playing up the Britishness. If you even look at the sort of faces of the brand over the last couple of years that he's been there, you're seeing very sort of like culturally relevant British talent like Skepta, Lennon Gallagher, Iris Law. But I will say it sort of lacked a bit of personality and a clear vision. In terms of like ready to wear, it's a little bit all over the place. I like the focus on the check. I think that it could possibly be done more in more sort of like interesting ways, and I can definitely see him, he's definitely doing that, he's definitely going down that path. But one thing that Daniel Lee is very good at Bottega, is shoes and bags. And as we know, when it comes to these luxury fashion houses, these are how they make their money. The, what's that? There's the bread and butter. Yeah, that's the bread and butter, that one. They're not really hitting at Burberry as one would expect they would. And I don't know if it's because Burberry is not Bottega. It doesn't have the personality of Bottega. It's a completely different brand. So by trying to sort of take these quirky, exaggerated shoes and doing something similar at Burberry, it's not paying off in the same way. Also because the Burberry customer is different to the Bottega customer. But there is also one very big difference with Daniel Lee being at the helm, and that is the pricing. Another thing that the Burberry customer is not used to is all of a sudden, I remember, because I was really interested in this skirt, a Burberry skirt maybe would have been like 800, 1,000 max. That skirt is now like 1,800, 2,000 something. The Independent said, according to one estimate, recent accessory collection from Burberry was priced 58% higher than previous collections. It's obvious that they've been trying to elevate the brand to something on that Bottega level, even though that is not what Burberry is. Burberry is a luxury brand, but it's not sort of to the quote-unquote level of Bottega, nor should it be. It's like got its own superpowers in its own right, and this is the problem, I think, with luxury fashion at the moment, is everybody's trying to do everything, okay? Everybody's trying to act like an octopus and have their hands in sodding everything, when really, stick to your lane. But anyway, Jerry Murphy, who is Burberry's chairman, said, perhaps went a bit too far too fast with creative transition at a time when customers are feeling a bit more challenged especially at higher price points. 100%. The timing also hasn't worked fantastically for Burberry because, yeah, the purse strings are being scooched in a little bit. In terms of what their strategy moving forward seems to be, apparently they aren't looking to lower prices, but are instead looking to introduce more pieces at a more affordable price point. Let's see. It'll be interesting to see what those pieces are. I hope that it's not just like the quote-unquote merchy pieces, that it's like, ah yes, a t-shirt is now 300 and all it is white and it says Burberry on it, you know? Now they've got a new CEO. This was announced a week or two ago, and the new CEO is Joshua Schulman. He has a background at Michael Kors, Coach, Bergdorf Goodman, and Jimmy Choo. Now, people were sort of worried that when this announcement came, that he is just going to try and make Burberry a new version of Coach, like a British Coach, right? He's basically disputed that. Let's see. So what are my thoughts? I think that a lot of brands are having a bit of an identity crisis, and they need to stick to what they're good at and stick to what they know. In the case of Burberry, you are looking at outerwear. I don't think they should be focusing on pumping out an it bag and an it shoe, because that is not what you're being looked at for. That's not where your strengths lie, right? Even via Daniel Lee, who was managed to do it at Bottega, right? Their history is outerwear. Their history is weatherproofing. It's even things like wellies. If you're thinking of doing shoes, you need to be doing boots. You need to be doing wellies. You need to be doing like, okay, the odd sexy little summer sandal in a check that ticks you for spring summer, right? You need to be focusing on, I love how I'm like talking to this as though anybody from Burberry is ever going to see this sodding video. They're not. And who am I? That's a secret I'll never tell. XOXO Gossip Girl. This is just what's coming out of my noggin. Whether or not I've got any credentials to be able to be giving it. Autumn winter Burberry is sorted. What about spring summer? The Burberry bikini. Okay, the fact that it was like had a cultural moment with Beyonce and Jay-Z's Bonnie and Clyde music video. They have to build themselves, in my opinion, they have to build themselves back up as an authority in outerwear. And this is not like, oh, it's never been done before, this is hard to do. Max Mara is a luxury brand that's really managed to carve their space as, I want a luxury like camel coat situation, Max Mara. You want a trench? Burberry. You want like a weatherproof little cropped quilted jacket situation? Burberry. It should be the go-to for these like reliable, quality, but like fashionable and chic yet timeless pieces. I need to see that Burberry Prorsum line back again. I need to see a fully leather trench with grommets and studs all over it that is going to make my mouth salivate like it has never before. I need to see an entire collection that is just trenches. That's what I want to see, actually, yeah. I want there to be, come autumn winter 2025, just trenches in every iteration that a trench could be. Listen, whenever's the next anniversary, I need to see an entire collection that's just trenches. I need to see somehow a t-shirt that also gives trench vibes. I don't know. But I also don't need a standard Burberry trench to be like 4,000, you know? So they need to rein things back in with the pricing. I understand prices of things have gone up, okay? Go a scooch. Go with inflation, okay? Don't make a trench that was 1,600, 3,700, okay? Did you know that they do custom trenches and bomber jackets? I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't, because they're not sodding telling anybody. I think that they only do this at their flagship in London. This should be shouted from the sodding rooftops, especially as personalisation and customisation is a big thing. Also, the cashmere scarves. Yes, we know that you can walk in and you've got the scarf thing, it's under the rainbow, all of that. We need a sodding push come autumn winter. Do you remember when they used to do the personalised little like cape situation? Where is the cape? I haven't seen the cape in years. Get the capes back out, okay? Those lovely little cashmere capes with the massive knight on the back, yes. With the scarf, I want a version of that scarf that's about 3 times the width of the normal scarf, okay? And it's just sodding loads of that beautiful cashmere. With a blue, because if you want to make the blue thing a thing, with the blue knight there at the bottom, just above the tassels. Those are my thoughts, okay? As for Daniel Lee and his like future and whatever, I like him. He's a Yorkshireman. I'm always going to root for the Yorkshire people. But, you know, these places are quick to let go and whatever else. Those are my thoughts on Burberry. I really wish that maybe they would listen. I'm happy to come in for a consulting if you want me. What do you think? What do you think? Are you interested in Burberry? What do you want to see from Burberry? I'm going to leave a link to another video over here in case you haven't already seen it. Have an amazing morning, afternoon or evening wherever you are. And in the words of my father,
if you've enjoyed it, tell your friends. If you haven't, keep your mouth shut.
I'll see you in my next video. Mwah. Bye guys.